Here we are, people.
Good morning.
Welcome back. This is the Piercing with Scott channel. My name is Scott Wilkinson. This is Kelsey Kakos, and we're body piercers. I don't know if you knew that or not, but we are, and today we're going to answer all your piercing questions, or as many as we can get in. So if you're going to be asking us a question in the comments, just do your very best to ask a super, super thorough question, because the more thorough it is, the better we can answer your question. So,
yep, more detail is always great.
Who's that?
The voice from beyond.
That's Nova. So everyone say hi to Nova for us. And
hi, everybody.
Kelsey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good today.
Yeah?
Today is a great day.
It is a good day.
I agree.
You ready for some questions?
I am super ready for some
I think
questions.
we got some good ones coming.
I
think
agree.
so,
Yeah,
too.
we've got a bunch of people in from TBHWY. Hello. Ola from Ronald. Hi from Joey.
Howdy.
Hello
Good
from
morning.
Ebola. Sam says yo from New Mexico.
What up?
All right.
Manon. Hey, Scott and Kelsey. How's life?
Good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Good. Black
good.
Jade says hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello,
Hope
hello.
everyone's
Thanks for
having a
coming to
good
hang.
spring/summer. We're in Las Vegas, and it's starting
Feels
to
like
get
summer
pretty warm
already.
in here. Yeah, it's warm.
How's it going, Chip?
What's up, Chip? How
Hey,
you doing, buddy?
Chip.
Yeah, we actually got to meet Chip. Right? A couple
Well,
days.
Nova got to meet Chip. I've actually met Chip before. He's been in, I think, once or twice now. So, yeah,
Got it.
Chip is super, super cool. Came in with his girlfriend, met her too. Super cool. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah, it was awesome. What did you get done, Chip? I can't remember.
Nipples.
Forgive me. Ooh, that's a fun one.
Nipples.
Yes. Sorry if we let the cat out of the bag.
Surprise.
Yes. He did so good, though. So good. Yeah.
That's awesome. Nipples are a scary one. Do you think?
Next to genital, I think it's the
Yeah,
scariest.
I wholeheartedly
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I think it's even like it. I think nipples can be scarier than some genital piercings, depending on the genital piercing.
I
But-
think it depends if you've had a genital piercing or not previous to that. Because once you get one, most of them are pretty easy where it's like, oh, that was a piece of cake, you know?
It's true.
But if it's the first one, you just think, oh, this is going to be bad.
This
This is going to be,
Yeah.
you're already tired, aren't you?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
yeah, no yawning, Kelsey.
I'm awake.
Cheers.
I've been caffeine free for almost
Not me.
3 weeks now. Yeah.
all of
Good
the
for you.
caffeine that Kelsey hasn't been drinking, I have been drinking.
Yeah. No, it was like double consuming with his Colombian crack coffee.
That's correct.
So, and
Wonderful.
speaking of, cheers to anyone who's drinking coffee,
Yes. Cheers.
water,
Good morning.
booze, beer, doesn't matter.
Wake up.
Cheers to you.
Love it.
All right. Any
Love it.
questions there, Nova?
Yeah, we've got a few more highs.
Sure.
Lillian is back saying hello. No more room on her ears, so she is decked out. I believe we were in the 40s last time we talked, 30s
That's
or
so
40s.
cool.
Holy smokes. Good
It's a
for
lot
you.
of piercings, and that's a lot of jewelry. And at that point, you just sometimes just start redecorating. Like, hey, let's try some hoops here. Let's try some studs. Let's try some clusters.
Or
Absolutely.
you go into this changing of your jewelry, season where it's like you spend way too much money redecorating.
Like, oh, I want to go all white.
I do that
opal
like
thing.
every other year. Yeah.
I think it's like changing your hair color. You need a new setup every once in a while.
You do.
Yeah.
From Munt Jack Lover, hello from the Cotswolds, which I actually had to look it up, is a region in the west of England.
Awesome.
Oh,
What's it called?
cool.
Say that again.
So, the Cotswolds.
Cotswolds.
Yep.
Cool. Welcome in. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Swamp Ass is here saying what's up.
What's up,
And-
swamp ass?
And now we've got
Just
some
fun to say.
questions.
Okay. Let's bring on the questions. Here we go.
Sure. Well, first, Stephanie says hello.
Hi, Steph.
My beautiful bestie and sworn enemy, Scott and Nova Bear. Hi, Steph.
Sworn enemy. She stopped in the shop the other day, and I was like, "Is that the enemy over there?" She's like, "I'm not your enemy." I'm like, I'm just kidding.
So we've got a question from Joey. They said, I've not gotten my high school diploma yet. Should I start preparing myself for becoming a body piercer before I graduate? I'm not exactly sure how though. Should I just be doing research on it? Question mark.
I think so. Number one, if you're serious about being a piercer, look into anatomy classes, something like that. Taking bloodborne pathogens, CPR, first aid. Those are kind of some of the basics that you can have that all correlate to it. And study up on my channel. Go through that whole truth. Make sure you know all the piercings, know the terminology as far as that goes. And the technique is taught in the apprenticeship. So don't practice at home. You're going to get bad habits, and no one's going to want to take you on as an apprentice if you already have a bad rep. So any other?
And I mean, was the question about finishing Graduating high school?
No, like what can I do? I haven't graduated high school yet.
Gotcha.
So they're still in school is what it sounds like, right, Nova?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the
So
general.
you're still in school, so you're just kind of figuring.
Yeah, get into it. If it's something that you're interested in, get into it as soon as you can. I mean, I started getting into it all the way back in middle school. So
Good stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah, don't pierce yourself. Don't pierce
yourself. Don't pierce your friends. Take classes.
Yeah, I love Scott's suggestions for getting involved by getting pierced and building a relationship with a piercer. I always say that's the best path to an apprenticeship. Also, if you're interested in the history, I think there are a couple books we can probably recommend, like Modern Primitives, Running the Gauntlet, that sort of thing.
History of body piercing.
Great idea. Great idea. I mean, even like Elaine Angel's The Piercing Bible. It
has a lot of good,
much information in there.
A lot of good history too.
And not everyone agrees with every single thing in there, but at least you have a basis to start with.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to start. Awesome. We got a question from Manon. So here's an update. Here's an update, y'all. When I was stretching my right ear, I don't know what went wrong, but just as I stretched to an 8mm, it was fine for an hour or so, and then it started to swell and started leaking fluid.
Sounds like a rip.
Yes.
Sounds like you tore it a little bit. Even micro tears can get super irritated and even, develop some sort of an infection like soon after stretching. So, yeah, you gotta. Camera adjustment.
There we go.
Thank you. That was bothering me.
I was trying to be sneaky. That was not sneaky at all.
I'm like, earthquake! Ah! Falling over. Whoa, I'm attached to this. Okay.
She's awake.
But yeah, sounds to me like you might have some micro tearage going on. I'm not sure what material you used to stretch, but
Silicone's known for doing tears.
Silicone is known for tearing like
so
that.
Hopefully you're not stretching with the silicone.
Acrylics, and especially if you do get the micro tears, materials alone can cause some really bad irritation, especially if you're sensitive to materials. So just be cautious.
I would say stay where you're at for right now. I mean, if it really hurt, that means you weren't ready for the stretch. And I would say maybe downsize if that was the case. But if it didn't hurt and it just seems weird, give it a couple days to see if it gets better. And if you need to, just downsize. It's not a forever like, oh, I couldn't make it up to the ½ inch or whatever it was. Just go back down for a couple weeks, let things heal back up. And I bet the next time it's going to go in super, super smooth.
Yes.
Agreed. Treat it like a new piercing.
Yep.
Hi, Scott. Greetings from Belgium, from Catherine.
Hi.
Ooh, Catherine. Just kidding.
From Chip Douglas. I love my new piercings. It was a great experience. Thanks a million. Can't wait to get another one next time I'm in town.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
You know what I'm going to tell you about Chip here? Like, we have a curse with Chip with 3mm discs, don't we, buddy? Every time he comes in, we try to put a 3mm disc on his tragus. And I think last time he came in, some reason the threadings didn't work and it fell off. So he had to come back in. And this time, same thing. It was all rocking and wouldn't stay tight. So we switched to beads. But both times he came in, we had one disc left. And of course, it was,
Was it maybe just the threading of the post?
No, because the bead works totally perfect.
Oh, interesting.
It's just a weird, sometimes things just keep happening over and over.
Where are the discs from? What company?
I'm not sure which one those.
We'll figure that out because maybe the thread pattern is a little off.
Yeah.
Could
I
be.
don't know.
Problem solved.
But yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. I mean, like, we don't try to do that, but sometimes there's defects in jewelry once in a while. Yeah.
It happens once in a blue moon.
And he's just 2 times in a row.
Jeez.
Stuck in the Matrix. Groundhog Day.
Yep. I love that movie. My
It's a good one.
too.
Really?
Yeah, Groundhog's Day.
There you go.
Yeah. It's not a national holiday. That's why everyone forgets my birthday.
When is
I
your
don't know.
birthday? For the masses, so we never forget again. When is your birthday, Scott?
It's in February.
Okay.
Second.
We've got a question from Marisol. Do y'all offer ear styling? I guess at the shop.
Kind of. Depends on what level you're going to. Some people do full-on ear curation where you spend money and they spend like an hour and kind of going through those things. We don't go that route. We're not going to charge you for that. You basically just set up your half-hour appointment for like if you need a jewelry change, but we only do like 3 piercing change in that half hour. So we're not going to do too much and it doesn't give you a ton of time to pick stuff out. So, but we'll help you figure out what piercings work for you or if,
Absolutely.
What do you have to say about that?
So yeah, we don't do the whole mapping out where we take a photo of your ear and then we Photoshop, pictures of jewelry or anything on your ears. We would have you come in for like a jewelry shopping or jewelry change appointment, and we can show you different options. Obviously, we have mirrors and these little stick tools that we use that are clear so you can see what the jewelry would look like on your ear. Just so you can see more of like an in-person type thing. It's just a little more personal for us, like personable. So
yeah,
it's funner.
I think Kelsey's a little better than I am. I consider myself a bread and butter piercer. I know it seems weird to say that, but like I do all the basics, and that's what I really, really, really focus on. Yeah, I do all the piercings, but I'm not into the curation, into the full.
I'm a huge like projects person. So when it comes to like a project or art or styling something, love it. Love. Be my client, please.
I help out with balance, but it's like picking clothes for the day. It's sometimes it's scary having someone else do it for you if they're not happy, because everyone has a different opinion on what they like. But if you came in and said, hey, I need to get 4 piercings, I want to get all 4 down here, and it's like you don't want to balance it, do maybe a cartilage, or if everything's on the outside, maybe a tragus to balance it out on the front. That's as far as I go. But as far as picking jewelry, that's your style for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good question, though.
It is a good question.
And there are shops in town, like here in Las Vegas, like Ryan Dreyfus at Ember Body Jewelry. That's one of his specialties, and that's what he really, really focuses on. So if you're looking for the full curation, someone to pick everything out, that might be, but you're going to spend a little bit more money because it's going to be a lot of gold. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. Yeah, I love mapping out ear projects and nostril projects too, actually.
Yes.
From Pirelli 913, back in action. Hey guys, I have a hypothetical question. When one gets pierced, they always have to mention their HIV status. What if somebody lies and says they don't when they do, or they think they're negative when they aren't?
That is
how do you handle that?
That is an incredible question.
Yes,
Thank you so much for bringing that up. So, for us, we treat we don't treat every client, but we handle every client with the same care that we would as somebody who was positive for everything under the moon and the stars. So as far as that goes, just the cleanliness in general, the way that we clean our setups after each client, and the way that we pierce with the most safety that we possibly can, just to ensure that we don't get needle sticks, we don't cross-contaminate, but yeah, we pierce every client as if they were positive for everything, just for our safety and theirs and everyone else's.
It's the safest way to go about it.
Yeah.
Now, the other 2 cents here is I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's illegal to ask someone if they have HIV or AIDS. I think legally what they have to ask is, do you have any sort of
communicable diseases,
diseases,
bloodborne
anything
illnesses
that would impede the healing of this piercing, any medical conditions that's the legal way. I don't think you can specifically ask if they have one thing or another. And when someone does, let me know, like, hey, I have HIV, I'm like, thank you for letting me know. But just like Kelsey said, it's like we treat everyone like they have everything, so everything's as clean as possible, and it doesn't really matter as far as that goes. So yeah, it's a good question. And, honesty is the best policy. And if someone's not comfortable doing it, find someone else, because there are plenty of piercers who will. I will totally pierce you as long as you are able to heal the piercing and that the situation's under control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question, though. Thank you for that.
Really good. We haven't been asked that one yet at all.
That was a really good question. So thank you. That was awesome.
How do you guys keep coming up with new questions?
It's good.
How? So impressive.
From Courtney Sweetheart, much love, you rock, Scott.
Thank you.
Yay.
Devil horns with a heart.
Yeah.
From Catherine, in a few weeks, I'm getting my industrial piercing. How long does that take to heal?
A week.
I wish.
Not true. Take that back. Expect a year. Under perfect circumstances, a cartilage piercing can be healed as soon as 4 to 6 months. But that means hair products not getting caught on there. You're not sleeping on it. You're not hitting it against anything. You're not wearing headphones. You're not putting your phone up to your ear. You're not. The list can go on and on.
You're keeping your hair up and away from it.
Expect a year. But it could be much sooner, and it could be much longer. If you are sleeping on, you're constantly hitting it, you're wearing helmets while you ride a motorcycle, it might not ever heal. So you got to be nice to that piercing. It's a tough one.
Yep.
It is a toughie. For sure. Ruru, hello and cheers everyone from Hungary.
Cheers from Hungary to Las Vegas.
Love it.
And everything in between and around.
Indeed.
I think that covers everyone.
I was gonna say that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
A question from Abiola. I'm planning on doing a Christina. Would it hurt to wear jeans or other fitted clothing?
So I would refrain from any sort of fitted clothing
Or pants.
Really in general. Anything you're going to want to wear something comfortable. Just from personal experience, healing a Christina can take a while, 6 months to a year. It is one of those piercings that genital wise, it takes a while. Looks really cool, but yeah, you're going to find out real quick how uncomfortable it is to wear fitted clothing on that particular piercing while it's healing. After it's healed, not a big deal, but yeah.
I kind of put the Christina and the navel piercing into a similar category.
Yes.
If your pants are rubbing up against your navel, you're going to have problems. If it's free and nothing's hitting it, it can heal up fairly decently, within that, 4 to 6 month range. But if things are bothering it, causing problems. Same things to go with undergarments. If you have lacy undergarments, things are getting caught on that jewelry and getting pulled, it's going to be a problem.
I have a horror story about my Christina. The first time that I had it done. First time I had it done, I had flinched so hard because I was not expecting it to feel the way that it did, and it surprised me when it first started going in.
Was this your first genital piercing?
My first genital piercing was my VCH.
Okay.
But the Christina was the second one. It was the one that I wanted more than the VCH, but I figured, I'll start with something that everybody says is easier. It wasn't any easier. Like it's a quick pinch, but it's like, oh. But the Christina, it's a lot thicker tissue. And I flinched, and we ended up putting an L bar in, and I do not have the anatomy for an L bar. It was not comfortable. It was also pierced crooked, but I was like, whatever, I'll just keep it in and I'll try to heal it because I didn't want to do it again. Took it out and retired it. Second time I had it done, it was done perfectly. And I was like 2 months into healing, and I was wearing some cute lacy underwear, and I was running through the shop, and we had a couch in the hallway, and I ran and I went to go jump on the couch, and it hooked on to like if you imagine like the two outer labias, pubic mound area here, the bead comes out of the bottom here, and then the other bead here. So my underwear caught the bottom bead and it ripped up. And I literally had like this shape of a slit in the piercing. And it was terrible. It was terrible. I just remember feeling a sharp pain, and then standing up like, ouch, and blood started dripping on the ground. Had to take it out literally that second. Luckily, I didn't need any sutures or anything, and it healed just fine. But holy cow, do not wear lacy undergarments with genital piercings when they're healing, for the love of God.
Yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom. I gotta change.
Yeah.
Hey, Nova, can you pull up an L bar for us so we can see what that looks like?
Sure.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
It's a new type of jewelry. It started out, I don't think they're as common. I don't know, about 10, 15 years ago they came out, and people thought, oh, this is the perfect one for Christina, the perfect one for VCH. And
it's really not. I'm not a fan. I have a beautiful anatometal piece for the Christina, and
I just say a beautiful anatomy.
Oh yeah, I do have great anatomy for it.
Yeah.
But actually, I really want, because Nova just started piercing, and I really want him to bring my Christina back, because he's not super familiar with genital piercings, and I feel like that would be something cool, because like it's already pretty much there, it just needs to be re-pierced. So I'm super excited, and I have some awesome jewelry for it.
An L bar?
Not an L bar.
Okay.
We're talking 6 gauge with black opals.
I think we might have gotten unplugged.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Okay.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Cool.
Okay. So as we're looking up here, the one that says Amazon in stock, that's not a normal L bar. Most of them are the ones like that, yep, where they have a hard lift. So in theory, it makes sense, but I don't think they work very well. I don't know if you've ever worn one and you think they're comfortable, or if you're a piercer and you use these, let us know what your experience is down in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of them.
Like, they make sense, but
they don't. They do and they don't.
They do and they don't, because in my opinion, there's not enough room for swelling on like the lifted part. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, so then like healing it, you have that harsh bend, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, as far as like for a VCH,
maybe
the
for a
bend
healed
comes through the bottom, so the small bead's on top, and it makes that other gem face outwards.
Right.
But it's going to swap and flop back and forth.
I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe for a healed Christina piercing, I can imagine it, but not for a fresh piercing.
And you
Absolutely
probably
not.
have to fit pretty snug for it to stay put.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. For a healed with the perfect fit might work, but not a fan.
Hit
Not
us
a
up in
fan.
the comments. Let us know what you think of those L-bars.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, please.
Wanted to say thank you to Catherine, who gave us €1.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
€1.
Thank you.
I think that might be our first like non-dollar.
100%.
That's
It's the
cool.
first euro I've ever received.
Awesome. Yay.
Thank you.
Cheers to Catherine.
Awesome. Okay. We got the motocross graveyard back to the program. Thanks for stopping in. Here's a good question from Spoon. At what gauge is it recommended to stretch your septum in order to get a septural?
2
2
gauge,
gauge.
a 1/4 inch, and as far as metric goes, Nova, what's a 1/4 inch? Is that
In millimeters?
is that 1/2 millimeter,
Hold on,
3/4 millimeter?
I have it.
Here I am adding
In a 1/4
fractions to
inch?
millimeters. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Here we go.
It's 3/4 of a millimeter.
A 1/4 inch is 6.3 millimeters.
6.3 millimeters.
6.4 rounded. So
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 1/4 inch. Because if you imagine a 1/4 inch bead, wow. Where was my?
I was thinking I was putting centimeters with millimeters.
Where's Scott's brain?
yes, and
American.
Marisol.
We're American,
We're
okay?
American. Yeah. Only freedom units here.
Only
Marisol said, by the way, all 3 of you are beautiful humans. Thank you.
I love you so much.
Here's a good question from TBHWY. I think it's just TBHY. Anyway.
Okay.
I'm thinking about getting high nostrils next. What size jewelry is a typical starter for those? And what are they like compared? What are they like to heal compared to regular nostrils? Or nostrils, septum, and bridge?
A little bit more awkward.
Yeah.
They're a little more awkward, yeah. So high nostrils, depending on your anatomy as well. So when I pierce people, and if I'm pushing your jewelry in and it hits like the cartilage on the inside, like where your like septum would kind of be underneath, it if it hits against that, the last thing I want you to do is like constantly push the jewelry in, because then you're going to be healing it. Instead of going like this with your nostrils, they're going to heal downward because they're going to be pushed up against that bone on the inside. So I want you to heal with them sticking out. Some people don't like the way that looks, but too bad, so sad. You have to heal it that way until we are able to downsize them. Otherwise, you will never be able to wear anything flat or like designer wise in those. You're forever going to have to wear a bead.
So it is awkward. It
Yeah.
is going to be weird. You're going to have to, and then you downsize in the future, and then everything works out really well. But it's an awkward piercing. It's like a nostril, but you're not used to things touching the inner walls up that far your nose. And it's not pleasant with the receiving tube and the jewelry and things moving back and forth. The piercing's a little bit more than a nostril, but it's awkward. It's super
little
super awkward.
tickly sometimes. So
Yeah, I personally think that my high nostrils were not fun. For me, they were way worse than a regular nostril.
they are a lot more sensitive because, like, I mean, honestly, when I had mine done, I couldn't like stop sneezing on one side. The other side, not too bad. I think it was this side this side I had issues with. Just whoo.
I think my tissue might be a little softer than most. I've had mine done 2 times now. The first time I had mine done with a 14 gauge, we hit an artery.
Oof.
We hit an artery. We know this because blood was shooting out of my nose.
That's exactly
Derek
what happened
was
with
like
mine.
panicking, and so I like to keep my my high nostrils a little bit more forward because there is that artery that runs up there. With that artery, like being said, I like to do 18 gauge now. I won't ever do a 14 gauge.
No.
Maybe a 16 gauge, but let's keep it smaller. It's just, it makes more sense. You don't have a lot of room up there for jewelry, so why are we putting something huge up there? Some of us just like, oh, I only do 14 gauge. I only go big. And it's like, sometimes it doesn't work that way, you know?
It's true.
That was my case.
That was my case with my conches almost exactly. I did them at a 14 gauge and they just weren't happy.
Really?
They didn't shoot blood or anything, but yeah, it was like a year later almost. And I eventually ended up putting 18 gauge in after trying 16 gauge. And that actually seemed to help. And then I restretched them to a 16 gauge.
Interesting.
So I will say, Again, I'm sorry, Jessica. Jessica was the one who originally did my piercings, and we hit that artery, and it does happen. But when we took it out, I decided I was going to get them redone, and she's like, I'm not doing them. I'm like, no, you're I kind of forced her to do it. I'm sorry, but it probably was good for you. You know, sometimes it's like, you know, like, oh, that was bad. I'm never going to do it
Someone was scared into,
no, just jump back on the horse and, you know, move it and adjust it, and, you know, no harm, no foul. So, but again, I'm sorry, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's see. I wanted to do a shout out to Luna, who tossed us $5. They said, "Hi, I wanted to have my septum pierced. Unfortunately, I don't have a sweet solid. It makes me sad."
I think everybody has a sweet spot unless you've had full-on nose reconstructive surgery. Now, the thing is, you have cartilage. I do the piercing, I'll have gloves on, but I'll stick my pinkies in there and I can feel where it's in. You will feel it separate. Now, a lot of times if you're sticking your fingers in your nose, do you know how many people have their fingers in their nose right now? So many.
I almost did that
so
to
many.
myself.
I know. But anyways, it's more towards the tip, and it's just above that cartilage, and it's almost paper thin. So if your piercer said you don't have a sweet spot, find a different piercer, because
I would maybe get a second opinion, because I mean, you know, this person could very well have that anatomy where, you know, the more dense cartilage comes down really low.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've run into that, but I've now had 2 clients in the last, like, you know, couple years. But you pierce it a little bit more forward and it doesn't touch that cartilage.
Correct.
It's so interesting.
I try to keep it towards the tip of the nose. I do. So, and like I said, some people have a real small sweet spot. Some people have a bigger one. You have it. It's just probably on the smaller side.
Speaking of septums, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I've been using the receiving tube method, like you showed me, and I've been having such a rough time with septums lately, and I don't know why. So us as piercers, we will eventually run into like a wall when it comes to a piercing that we're like so used to doing some ways, and then all of a sudden they're not coming out straight or they're not coming out right. So then we have to like switch it up a little bit. And
I want to
tried
clarify,
switching it up.
perfect. They're not coming out perfect.
Coming out perfect, right?
You know, it's not like we're like jacking and going through the side of the nostril and stuff. It's
I'm
just
not messing people up, but I'm like not the happiest with them. They're not as straight as I would like them to be. And but yeah, I tried the receiving tube method. There's not as much pressure, and you're right about the lifting. And then like when I push through, I'm also pushing with my. I noticed that I did that the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I totally am the reason why I'm messing up. So I'm like,
now, for those of you who don't know or are not a piercer, septums are one of the most difficult piercings
they're
to do.
rough.
I know, it's like everyone has them. How can it be tough? Well, you can't really see where you're piercing. So you kind of got to go by feel. So you put a tube on one side and the back end of the needle, and you can kind of feel where that spot is. But not only do you have to get it straight this way, but you have to get it straight this way. So there's 2 different axes on a spot you can't see. And then sometimes when people blow out, you know, you're doing the piercing, they
scrunch up their face.
It's so hard.
Or they go like this. They're like, oh, and you're like, no. Why did you do that? Hold on, moment of truth. Let me put the jewelry in.
So they're tricky, but yeah, sometimes, I mean, we're human. We're human.
Yes.
Yep, and of course, for clarification, this is something that no one other than another piercer that has been piercing septums would ever notice. So yeah, all good stuff.
I don't know. We've seen really crooked. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking off a little bit, and it's like
by millimeters.
Yeah.
From Marvin, Scotty, thanks for the geesh piercing a month ago. It is healing well. I think I was there for that too. Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for letting me sit in. That was the first geesh piercing I'd ever seen. They're awesome.
Marvin's awesome. Thanks for being there. Thanks for being here. Yeah, he's one of my favorite clients.
Cool.
Yeah. I think he used to be an old Guitar Center manager, so we talked to the old days and stuff.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I've done some really cool piercing. I think I did a triple conch and a triple helix. One of those. I don't know. It's we've worked on Marvin a few times.
Yeah, I remember you had some cool stuff when it came in.
Yep.
Speaking of clients coming in, Pirelli said that he's coming in next week to see Kelsey for a jewelry change. So excited.
Yay.
Been waiting since we made the appointment. I think I remember. If I remember correctly, it's we are switching a helix to a ring or something along those lines.
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Ready.
That's a big moment.
Yeah, it's like it literally really is such a big
forever.
moment because it takes forever to heal these piercings, and then finally being able to put a ring in, it's like
You made it.
Cheers to healed
Cheers
piercings.
to healed piercings and
Love
healing your piercings and making sure they're healed before changing them.
And keeping your hands off.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a piercer. It's in my blood.
I'm not exactly sure what this is in reference to, but the motocross graveyard said, "I only read the holy books." JK. So were we talking about something like that earlier?
Oh,
no,
reading
books.
yeah.
References
Yeah.
for books. Yeah. So
Well, I would consider those to be holy books. So
Nice. Yeah, me too.
The piercing Bible, man. There we go. It's the holiest piercing book.
you know what? Like back in the day when I was doing business cards, I was so tempted on taking a hole puncher and just punching a couple holes in each of the card. I thought
That's
that'd be
cool.
really clever. So if you're a piercer, go ahead and take that. It's kind of fun. But it's a lot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of
Thousands
hole
of
punching.
cards.
Yeah. Put
Indeed.
holes in people all day long, and
Yeah.
I'm doing this on my spare time. So. But I thought
Love
it'd be
it.
clever. But yeah, holy books.
I love it.
Yeah.
If for me, I would say the Research Modern Primitives book is the original
Yeah.
OG Bible for me. That's what got most people into the industry,
Yep.
especially back in the 90s. I
Mhm.
mean, like I think Charles Gatewood was one of the main guys who kind of got behind a lot of those things and really exposed a lot of the piercing to the world through that book. And I learned so much through it. Learned about all the different icons, about Fakir, Jim Ward. They talk about branding,
Yep.
beading, which is like, or pearling, like penile implants.
Mhm.
There's so much stuff in there that you just didn't even know about. And it's
Yeah.
like a bunch of short stories, so it's a fairly easy, fascinating read. So if you're a piercer, check out Modern Research. No, just called Research, RE-search, and then it's Modern
Primitives. Yep.
Bible.
Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually I became a big fan of Charles Gatewood from that book, and he has done a lot of really interesting shoots in really interesting places. He was definitely somebody that wanted to get into the strangest places that he could so he could document them and take pictures.
I'm not 100% sure, but that one picture I have of Fakir and Jim Ward doing the Sundance ceremony,
Mhm.
I think that might be a Charles Gatewood picture.
Yes, I believe that
Oh,
it is.
wow.
So I think we have an OG inside the shop. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that might be worth money. I know Charles Gatewood's books are
I
actually
spent some
expensive.
money on it. I did. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, I found a he did like an instructional book that shout out to my piercer friend Paige Toth, who scored it for me on Thrift Books.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was awesome. We have an awesome question from Lexi. Could you give a simplified explanation on how to stretch earlobes? What's the best way? Do I need to go to a piercer for it? I've decided I want to stretch my firsts.
Okay. So I would recommend one, having a goal size, material, what you're using to stretch with, and having the time to do it. So every 3 to 6 to 8 weeks is usually what I recommend. It really just depends on the person's tissue, making sure you're not going too fast. That way you don't end up with micro tears, swelling, irritation, or losing your lobes.
I want to step in. I think 3 weeks is too soon.
3 weeks is normally too soon.
Sometimes people,
Yeah.
if you did that first stretch, like from nothing to like maybe a 16 or an 18,
Mhm.
sometimes you can get in as soon as that. But generally, it takes a good 6 to 8 weeks for all those skin cells to rejuvenate properly, so you don't rip and tear and cause scarring.
Right.
So proper stretch
As
doesn't
well
hurt.
as letting the tissue get a lot more laxed.
Yes.
So like wearing jewelry and everything for X amount of time.
Can I interrupt the two of you?
Interrupt.
So I'd
just
like to yes. So could we give an explanation of like exactly what the process looks like? So is it should we be using tapers or should we be using jewelry? What are some good materials for
Sure.
What are some, you mentioned materials. Yeah. What are some good materials and maybe some bad materials for stretching? Just to make sure we have a real clear picture.
I'll go with techniques and you go over materials.
Okay.
Okay. So I personally like using just bigger jewelry. Like if you have your ears pierced and you have a whole bunch of earrings, just look for the biggest earring you have. Because if you look at those different studs, they're gonna be different sizes. So a lot of times, you get in the shower, the hot water, and it's just gonna kind of go right into place. And then afterwards, you can either do the stacking method where you take a second earring and put it in the same one, or two smaller ones, and that'll kind of stretch it up. And once you get to plug status, where you're probably an 8 gauge or 6 gauge, probably closer to the 6 gauge, you can start using Teflon tape, which is like, the plumber's tape what you put on like the showers so the threads don't leak, but you do a couple wraps every few days, and that's going to be a nice, easy way to stretch. Or if you're almost there, you just can't get it, just a couple more wraps, a day or two later, you'll be at that size. That's my personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also interject real quick?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Kelsey.
You're good.
So I also, I don't think it's a bad idea to go to a piercer for like your stretch from nothing to something. Because usually, depending on how old you are and how long you've been wearing earrings and the weight of the earrings you've been wearing, sometimes your ears are bigger than a standard size.
Yep.
So sometimes you can get like a 14 gauge or, depending on the person, even a 12 or larger in there. Depending on like if there's how old they are, like I say, and how long they've been wearing earrings. I usually like to, I believe flatbacks go up to about 12 gauge. I think it makes sense to wear like a flatback and do a slow stretch because you kind of get the jewelry options. And then once you get to 10 is when you switch to like actual plugs, glass, or something along those lines.
That is exactly what I was going to suggest, was maybe starting with the Librette studs and going up each size, because yes, if you do find a reputable piercer, chances are they're going to have sizes all the way up to about a 12. So the taping method didn't really come in handy for me until I started to get to sizes where they didn't make single flared jewelry. So, which was about an inch. I think an inch was where I ended single flared stuff, where I could find single flared materials, or single flared jewelry. Materials that I would recommend.
Hold on a second. Are you saying you couldn't find single flare?
Couldn't find single flared past an inch.
Past an inch.
Yes, past an inch.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
so then after an inch was when I found the double flare jewelry, and so taping in between that really helped with especially the getting out of the saddle shape and then being able to get to over the next flare to the next size. So taping is a little bit more complex as far as like methods on stretching, and I wouldn't really suggest until after you get to a certain size. But yeah, so smaller sizes starting at like a standard 18 gauge earring, then 16, 14, 12. Once you get to 12, then you'll probably be able to find single flared stone or glass jewelry in a 10 gauge, and then so on. So single flared and materials, as far as that goes, I love glass and I love stone. Some stones I do not recommend. It really just kind of depends. Agates are really good because most of the time it's not really pitted.
Smooth stones.
Smooth stones, but glass all the way. I would recommend glass all day long. It's hypoallergenic. I mean, obviously depending on where it comes from, but majority of the time where people are getting glass, especially if you're seeing a reputable piercer. So
I should, if I'm only wearing it for like a month and a half, 2 months, I should just go to Amazon and buy just some cheap Librettes?
No Amazon, because you can ruin the whole process. Don't do it. That was a setup. That was a trick question.
I wouldn't fall for it though. But yeah, it's make sure you're buying quality jewelry, because if you're stretching, there could possibly be micro tears, and that's when you don't want to have cheap low-end jewelry, because you're going to develop an allergy over time. And I think this is the number one reason why we have so many people allergic to nickel, because people wore terrible jewelry for so long, and eventually the body just says no. And now it's almost like it's being passed on to our kids and whatnot. Yeah. But anyways, wear quality metals, implant grade titanium or 316 LVM stainless steel is going to be the best. There still is nickel inside there, but not as much. And the thing about Amazon and Etsy and all these other places, there's some good jewelry on there, but most people lie.
Yes.
You know, it's like people say, oh, it says surgical steel. I'm like, it's green. You can't make surgical steel green. Someone's lying somewhere, you know?
It's painted.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like surgical's like a selling word. Titanium's a selling word. So these companies are just throwing these words on there because they can sell it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so, and no one's going to return a $3 barbell.
Yeah. But materials super important, and time, obviously. So about 6 to 8 weeks. Every 6 to 8 weeks, as long as your ears aren't sore and tender and they're nice and laxed and you can see a little bit of a gap, you're probably ready for the next size.
Yes. We've got a question from Monique, or a comment from Monique. I just got my VCH done. It hurt so bad. That's interesting.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It is a quick pinch and it's an uncomfortable situation. It is it's a pretty good pinch.
Yeah.
Yeah. that I do remember.
It depends on the piercer you go
Mm-hmm.
to. You know, if you're uncomfortable to start off with, it's going to make it worse.
Needle quality.
Low quality piercer, it's a bad needle. You know,
Yeah.
not a bad needle, but not as sharp as it should be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. From Brianna Sykes. The cartilage in my ears are very thin, like a little thicker than my lobes. Will this complicate getting a helix piercing or the healing time?
No.
Make it easier. I got a hiccup.
Yeah, it would actually probably be easier to heal, so long as they're using proper length of jewelry. So some people have thicker cartilage. Sizing of jewelry is super important. Some piercers will be like, oh, I only use 5/16 for cartilage, but 5/16 for your ear would probably be way too long and cause problems.
Because it's going to move and twist and bend. And
I've been able to pierce somebody actually with as small as a 1/4 inch because their helix area, it was so paper thin. I could literally see everything through. It's crazy.
I have two. It's scary piercing with a 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
Normally that's too small.
Yeah.
But situational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never want it to be too long, so or too short. Yeah.
Just the right
As long
length.
as you're going somewhere
It's
that
like
has the right
porridge.
length.
You can't
of
have it
jewelry.
too hot. You can't have it too cold.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Absolutely. Got
You're
to get it
welcome.
just right.
Finding a reputable piercer.
Yes. From Cody. Coming up on my 1 year as a piercer, I really want to move more into heavy modifications like splits, ear reform, scarifications. What's a good route towards that? And they also were wondering what the difference between oral flatback studs and ear flatback studs are.
Or oral flatbacks as in like tongue piercings or cheeks. So for tongues, if we're ever using any sort of like a flatback style, it's an M&M bead. So it's like a ball, but then you squish it down so it makes this shape. Just makes it a lot more comfortable underneath the tongue. As far as flatbacks for cheeks, typically we would use like a 14 gauge thread.
Now, the way you asked it, though, said that there's oral flatbacks and ear flatback. There's flatbacks in different shapes in the back. It's not specifically for one thing or another. There is no specific oral flatbacks.
Flatback is a
There's
flatback.
flatbacks. Yep.
Yeah.
Some people eventually downsize and they want a smaller disc. Some people want, like the M&M on the inside. Some people want a regular bead on the inside. It's whatever's comfortable and works for you.
And then the question as far as heavier modification goes, that is something that, personally getting into, you have to be really careful with that. Because in most cases it is completely illegal. If you did not go to school to become a doctor, you don't really know much about these certain areas as far as anatomy goes, as well as using the supplies, such as local anesthetics, injecting people. If you don't take classes and courses on injecting people, you can really hurt somebody. It's not something that I would recommend just jumping into and starting to do. If you're serious about it, look into the medical field. Right. Look into the medical field.
You may not use that degree, but you need that knowledge. When you're adding lidocaine to, something to numb the area, which I think you kind of need to because it also minimizes bleeding a little bit.
So it's
and there's so many factors, but too much can cause necrosis of the skin where the tissue will die.
Right. And you can cause such harm, including like severe damage and death if you do not inject this properly. You can, if you're not injecting someone properly, and the tongue is like that crazy muscle in your mouth. I can only imagine.
The risk is extremely high for getting sued.
So take medical
for losing
courses.
your license. So do as much as you can. It's really hard to find someone who's going to teach you how to do this stuff because it is all illegal and unstable.
Only being a year into body piercing, and then considering heavier modification. I do research, befriend modification artists. There are so many out there. Sampa von Cyborg is a really good one. He was actually, he's medically licensed. And he started doing heavier modification after doing the whole, I believe he was a plastic surgeon.
I don't even know for sure. It's something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So he was some sort of a surgeon, medical professional. He has licensing for it. And I think that that's the way that he was able to get through the legalities of it. Same with Emiliano Body Arts. He actually does plastic surgery and heavier body modification. So these are two people who I would maybe recommend looking more into and, talking to. So,
but stick with the bread and butter piercings and master all the regular piercings first, because that's a good stepping stone. And then look into the medical, or start looking in the medical field now, because it's going to be a while. And I wouldn't recommend just experimenting on people. You're going to mess someone up. You could ruin someone's life. Yeah,
it's true. We've got a question from Braden. Hey, I'm a piercing apprentice in Salt Lake City. I appreciate the info you provide. How long do you think it will take for my reputation to build? I assume as a piercer and like to get their own clients.
When you start a new business, they say it takes 2 to 3 years to get established. So if you are a nice piercer, super important. There's too many egomaniacs out there, and treat people like a human being, give them a good service, and don't rip people off, and be honest, and that will go around. I mean, when I started my business in Las Vegas, I was so scared because I really didn't have any sort of reputation. All my reputation came from Minnesota, and I was in Nevada, so, and I started, and it was slow for the first couple of years. And like I said, about that 3-year mark, bam, I was starting to get booked out, because the word of mouth eventually spreads. People like someone who's going to treat them properly. They don't want to feel ripped off. They want to be taken care of. We've all been to bad doctors and good doctors. There's a huge difference. It's the same with piercers. You want a good reputation? Be the good piercer.
I was going to say along the lines of that, like, it's all about who you are as a piercer and a person. If you're a jerk, people aren't going to want to see you. But if you're a nice piercer and you're honest, and people, then you then gain your loyal clients. I have people who still to this day follow me to like where I am, and will only come and see me since my apprenticeship, just because of the relationship that we created. It's about creating relationships with people, being who you are, and and then it all just kind of follows from there.
There's probably not a lot of jobs like what we have where you develop that kind of relationship with people. People sometimes spill their guts to us. They come in and it's like, oh, I need to get this. And next thing you know, they might be crying or this. And it's just like, it's so emotional, and we can really make such a big difference. Sometimes it's reclaiming your body. If you're uncomfortable, but gaining some confidence, you just broke up with a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. And it's like, you need something, and that's that little vent. So we need,
piercing therapy in a way. We're like fun therapists.
Yeah.
Bedazzling.
Yes.
Pists. Bedazzle-pists.
I think I've told this story on the stream before, but probably like the most meaningful piercing that I ever did was not unlike any others up until the end. But I think I did a nostril piercing. Everything went smoothly. It was fine. Picked normal jewelry. Didn't really think anything of it. Would have been an appointment that I probably would have forgotten had the ending not happened. But as she was sitting up and looking in the mirror, she started crying, like heavily. And I was really, at first I was really concerned. I was, wanted to make sure she was okay. And then I was like, oh no, did I put it on the wrong spot? Or
I know.
what happened? But she had told me that she had previously been in an abusive relationship, and that this person wouldn't let her get her nostril pierced, and that she had left this person, and that this was like the final, or at least a step on the journey to truly being free. And I guess she had broken up with him, and it was a really, really meaningful experience. So she gave me a big hug, and it was awesome. It's like a really good reminder of why we do this.
It's super rewarding. It's a reward system almost. It's amazing.
Every piercing is valid. Okay. Sometimes like, oh, it's just an earlobe piercing. I don't need to go see a piercer. I don't need to, it's not a big deal. Like, no, everything is. So as a piercer, you treat everyone the same way, because they might be going through that same experience that girl that Nova just talked about. And it's just an earlobe. You're like, whatever, just get it over with. Don't ruin that experience for them.
Right.
Yep.
People have wanted these things. Like, if you ever pierce kids, how happy are those kids? They wanted their ears pierced so bad, and they were so scared. Kids crying in the room and just out of fear. And then they get down there and they're like the biggest smiles in the world. It can be so rewarding if you let it. But if you're a piercer that just shuts that stuff off right away, you'll never get there, and you won't get that same reputation.
Absolutely. Let's see. Here's a comment from Sammy. Stretched my earlobes from 7/8 22 millimeters.
Yeah.
My goal size is an inch.
You're almost
Hell
there.
yeah, almost
You're
there.
So close.
So close. And a question from Danya.
1 inch is such a good size. I
Yeah.
love 1 inch plugs.
That was my original goal size. I was like, oh, I just want to be able to put like my lipstick in my ear, you know?
I felt like 1 inch was the size where it's like, wow, I'm big.
Yeah,
This is big.
I know.
Yeah.
You know, before
Yeah.
that, it's like you're happy, but it's like 1 inch is a different number.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. I was that kid in middle school who could put my, the mechanical pencils,
Yeah.
put my pencils in my ears, and everybody thought that I was so crazy for doing that. And then I was like, oh, I want to go to like an inch. I want to be able to like put my thumb through that. And now I'm like, whoop, my whole hand can go in there. Okay. Yep.
I used to put my cigarettes in there, not lit
Yeah.
ones, but then I realized I put that in my mouth. What
I
was
know.
wrong with me?
Ew, ear cheese cigarettes. Yum.
Shock factor.
Yep. Here's a good question from Danya. Opinion on what to add on what to add to a conch piercing. Debating on either a double helix or hidden helix. I love hidden helix stuff.
I love hidden helix personally. I want to do more of them. So
It's a kind of anatomy dependent piercing because
Yeah.
you want it to be hidden. Otherwise, it kind of ruins the effect. But hidden helixes are cool. I do like them.
speaking of doing more of things, I actually not last week, but the week before when I was on live last, I had mentioned that I want to do more mandibles, and I just had a client come in yesterday.
What's
Shout
a
out to the
mandible?
client. Shout out to the client yesterday who came in because he follows us and saw that I want to do more and came in and got his belly button pierced by me
Hell yeah.
because
Mandible.
of Nova's mandible.
Yeah. It's
Heck
like
yeah,
one of my favorite piercings.
yeah. We did it in 12 gauge.
Hey, I didn't say this yet, but if you're not subscribed, why aren't you? Go ahead and hit that like button. And the
That's a good
I
question.
looked at the wrong camera.
For the dogs,
They're right here for me.
Huh?
Yeah, but we definitely appreciate like and subscribes
Please,
and
yes.
comments and questions. So we love you guys and we appreciate the love we get back.
Cheers to all you guys.
Indeed.
Cheers.
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 Gotta
You
keep
playing with your
fixing
jewelry?
my
I'm
ear
cheersing,
Oh,
but you
you're
can't
okay.
see it.
thing. I got little ears,
Trying to call her out
so
on.
nothing ever fits.
From
we go.
Saranaya. I think that
Saranaya. I like that.
Saran,
I like that.
Saranyaya. Anyway.
Something,
We're sorry.
something cool.
Love your channel. Watched it before and getting my first piercing, lobes, and currently at 4 millimeters stretched. Watched a bunch before getting my new industrial piercing.
Very cool.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Speaking of industrials, we have another question from Catherine. It looks like a 3-parter here.
Okay.
So I love to swim. How long to wait to swim after getting an industrial piercing?
Well, if you're already in the water, make sure you're swimming. Otherwise, you're going to drown.
Yes, that is
That
true.
was terrible.
That was
should-
good.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. I tell people a minimum of a month before you even think about it. Okay. A lot of times cartilage piercings takes longer than that. I would probably suggest a couple months at least. If there is a lot of crusties or if it ever has any bleeding, it's an open wound again, or not if the bleeding is going to cause the open wound. So keep your head above water. The big ones I'm most concerned about is lakes, rivers, and oceans. Lakes, rivers, and oceans, I've seen people get staph infections. You can die from a staph infection. It's a definite hospital trip. It's bad news. Now, pools and hot tubs, things like that, there's a lot of chemicals which are probably going to cause way more problems. You probably won't get that staph, but all those chemicals, like we tell you not to use all these chemicals in your medicine cabinet, yet you're jumping into a medicine cabinet pool.
Oof,
So all
but
those things,
worse.
chlorine, it's just terrible for your piercings. So yeah, try to keep your head above water. If you do go in too early, make sure you clean it when you get out and hope for the best. But yeah, at least a month, probably a couple months.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yep, agreed. As close to healed as possible,
Mhm.
as humanly possible.
Yeah. You're introducing more problems is what you're doing.
Indeed. So the other parts of the question, first they mentioned that they've gotten a lot of other piercings before. Eyebrow, tragus, triple forward helix, doth, 4 earlobes, septum, nostril, quite a list. And she said that they all healed very quickly. I know this sounds weird, but my triple forward helix, all 3 pierced at one time 4 months ago, and they are healed. She said they're piercer checked and they are totally healed. So that would be
Wow.
surprising to me.
That would
It's
be very
possible.
surprising to me, but it's possible. I mean, you probably sleep on your Like disco nap when you
Or at
sleep.
least the other side.
Well,
Or you sleep on the other side. So
because you're healthy,
biggest-
there's a lot of blood flow to the area, so you got the white blood cells you need.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's possible, but congratulations.
yeah.
The biggest thing
For those of you who are listening, that's not normal.
Yeah, and the biggest thing here, I think, that is important to remember is that piercings heal from the outside in. Even if they look healed from the outside, the wound channel or the fistula can still be fragile. So oftentimes, even if something starts to look healed and even feel healed, it can still be not truly totally healed and formed yet, if that makes sense.
So then the second you go to pull that jewelry out and then put new jewelry in, it's just going to swell right back up.
Exactly.
And then there you are back at stage 1 of a healing process. So, making sure that it's super totally healed. Because, like Nova was saying, that fistula probably isn't fully developed yet. So
I sincerely apologize for any extra noise. There's like 2 lawnmowers right down at the bottom of our thing. So loud in here right now.
It is. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I'm sorry. Go yell at them, Kelsey.
Yeah,
get out of here.
Get off
Throw
the
a
lawn.
spatula.
yeah, there you go.
Like my grandma with a wooden spoon.
Ooh, those hurt.
That's
Yeah,
what
they
do. Yeah,
hurt.
they do.
I got spanked with one of those a lot when I was a kid.
I'm sorry. It looks like Nas SM wanted us to repeat something, but if you're still here, let us know what you want what you want us to repeat. I'm not sure what we were talking about at that time. So yeah, sorry we missed.
We do repost
missed
the
that.
videos once
we
we're
do.
done.
Yeah.
So feel free to rewatch rewatch it.
Sorry if I mumbled.
Or my ADD went.
Yeah, one of those. Monique mentioned that when I got the other side of my nose pierced, they hit an artery. Blood was everywhere. I still kept it in, but it still hurts to change it.
Oh.
Curious how long you've had it then.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you hit the artery, like it's going to heal, it's going to move off to the side. It's not like you heal it through the artery. I'm sure it's...
Could just be really sensitive or healed
Yeah.
through the artery. I don't know. That's interesting.
There's no way you could heal it through the
I don't know.
artery.
Maybe. It's small enough.
I don't know. Number one thing I'm going to say is check on your jewelry, what you're,
Yeah, what kind of
and
jewelry
how
are you
long
using?
you've had your piercing. Sometimes
Oh,
they
my
do take
goodness.
6 months to a year to heal.
The lab coat hanging on that door scared the life out of me right now.
Oops. Yeah, that's from Dr. Scott,
Dr. Scott.
Professor Scott. Yeah, we're running a cool experiment right now with different needles to try and measure sharpness.
need
I
a
can't wait
lab
to
coat.
see.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Let's see. So yeah, I would depending on how long it has been, I would keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Because if it should be healed by now but still hurts, then there may be some underlying issue
The
there.
jewelry could be too short and pinching. If you're changing to rings, maybe you're not ready for the ring and you have a bump. I don't know.
From Chanel Guay, hi Scott.
Hi.
Thanks for brightening our Wednesday.
I'm
Sorry,
happy to do it. I love being here. It makes my day too.
I have a nose piercing I've had my nose pierced for almost 2 years now, and there's a little bump that won't go away. Could it be that my starter stud is too loose? 2 years is a long time.
Yeah, 2 years is a long time to not have had your jewelry changed yet. I would definitely look into a shorter post.
Yeah, if it's moving, getting caught on things, that's why the bump is there. And if that bump has been there a long time, sometimes they get established and kind of stay. So sooner than later to try to get that fixed. Yeah.
Or if you're prone to keloids or anything, if it is a keloid, then it would have to be removed.
It's not a keloid.
Probably
But
not.
it's probably
So-
not a keloid, but it sounds to me like it could be the jewelry. So
Yeah, I'm gonna ask if you were pierced with a ring,
Ooh, that's a good
or
question.
or depending on what style of jewelry you were pierced with or what the material is, you may just not be reacting to it well. So I would suggest getting something straight in there if there is a ring, and something that is made of implant grade titanium, or at least the highest quality you can
And
find.
there's also the factor if you're still cleaning your piercing with wrong materials like alcohol or peroxide, it could just be still just raw because you're not allowing it to heal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so hopefully you're
Yeah.
not using any bad aftercare
Body's
products.
just fighting
and done with
against it.
Yeah, if you're healed, you don't have crusties, you don't need to put anything else on there other than the regular soap and water while you're in the shower and you're washing your face. So Yeah.
But 2 years is way too long for an irritation bump. So it seems like we haven't removed the source of that irritation, and that should be your focus. So I would work with your piercer, or feel free to give us more detail, and we're happy to help too. From Alyssa, Kelsey is my favorite piercer ever. I will never go to another person.
Yeah, she's all right.
Love it.
I'm okay.
And Pirelli is coming in for a double Helix to get the ring in. So that's a big moment.
Awesome.
My first like piercing goal was to have a ring in my Helix. I no longer have the Helix piercing, but yeah, it was awesome while it lasted. That was the early days. From Twisted Sister. Love your channel.
Snyder, sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I have a 2-month-old belly piercing. The metal is pretty annoying when I move. Could I put in a flexible piece of jewelry this soon? Thanks in advance.
It's how old?
2 months. 2 months.
2 months. What?
Flexible jewelry is generally not safe for long-term wear. You're dealing with acrylic, plastic, something like that. The proper size jewelry is going to be your best bet. You could have a reaction to the metal or the style of jewelry you have in there. I'm sorry, what piercing was it?
A navel piercing.
Yeah, they take a long time. If your pants are rubbing up against it, that's the problem. So there's no such thing as a flexible piece of jewelry that's going to save it for you. And then also, some people will see like those pregnancy bars where they're made out of like a rubber, and it's like those things are terrible. Like if you get pregnant, you take your piercing out.
Right.
Don't try to save the piercing. Priority number one is the baby. But I'm going to say lower rise pants, proper aftercare with the wound wash spray, and make sure your jewelry's not too long or too short.
That was what I was going to interject with is so it when you say the metal is annoying when you move, what exactly does that mean? Does it feel tight? Is it painful?
Is the jewelry too long?
Yeah, so I would definitely suggest talking to your piercer, or again letting us know what exactly what you mean, and we should be able to help you a little bit more. So let's see, from Psycho Dude.
What's up, Psycho Dude?
Oh gosh,
here it comes.
I've had enough of those.
Hey Scott and company, what is the largest piercing you would do on a lobe without stretching, or would you always stretch a large gauge needle piercing on a lobe? So I'm not sure if he's asking.
I know what you're saying.
Like
I
pierce
think,
and stretch, or
because at a certain size, I pierce and stretch. Like I think I'll go up to probably. I do like an 8 gauge without stretching, but if I want to do a 6 gauge on an earlobe, I'd probably do the 8 gauge and stretch right to the 6. For sure on a 4 gauge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the needles only go up to a 4 gauge. So that means if you wanted that 2 gauge or 0 gauge, you would have to stretch right afterwards.
Yeah.
And just
Pierce and stretch.
Toss this out there right now. I've had a lot of people come in for large gauge lobe piercings with no tattoos, no mods whatsoever. And this is like trying to learn how to run before you've even learned to stand. So you need to start a little bit smaller. And then the question I have is like, why do you want to go so big so fast? You know, are you impatient? Because if you're impatient, you're not going to take care of it. You're going to have a massive scar on your ear. There's still some responsibility, or a lot more responsibility with a large gauge lobe than a smaller gauge lobe. You know, and the thing is, like, if you don't have any piercings, why are you doing such a large scar on your ear right away? You know, because if it doesn't work out, there's no real fixing that giant scar. And the thing is,
other than reconstruction. So
I haven't said in a long time, but the stretched earlobe, all the tribes in the world that did it, it represents wisdom. You know, and
patience.
The wisdom comes with patience and time. And who has the biggest lobes in the tribe? The oldest person.
It's true. We did have a follow-up from Twisted Sister. They said that I think the jewelry is too long. I think the jewelry is too long. It's not painful, just a little twinge when I bend over or sit.
Yeah, probably just a little bit shorter bar would probably make a huge difference. Sometimes just that, like, you know, even 1/8 of an inch, it's unbelievable how, like, you look at the two and go, that ain't gonna, and you put it in and go, whoa. You know, I can move again.
Wow. What a difference.
It helps for sure.
I definitely have energy today.
Indeed. I love this question. I also love this username from Level 99 Bard. I also play a Bard in my D&D party. Hey, Scott, fan from Australia. I'm a heavy guy on a weight loss journey, and I've always wanted to get my nipples done. Should I wait till my chest is skinny, or is it okay to get them done while I'm bigger?
Do it now.
Yes, do it now.
Do it now when you want to do it.
I'm trying to think of it. Like if you lost a ton of weight, how much would those angles change? I don't think it would be enough.
So
they could change, but not enough really to.
I have lost, like, I've lost in the last like year, or not year, in like the last 3 or 4 years, about 120 pounds.
Good for you.
And I have, like, throughout the course of my life, gained and lost like over 100 pounds multiple times. So I feel, and I've had my nipple pierced for almost the entire time. So I feel like I can talk about this. And the reality is, like, the size of your nipple really doesn't change no matter what your weight is. It's just like your nipple is the nipple that you're born with. For the most part, the size of the areola can change, but the nipple itself doesn't change. And with, as you start to get some loose skin, you can start to sag. Your chest can start to sag a little bit. But again, it really, like, it doesn't change the angle of at which you're pierced at all. It's just like it's just how they sit. And there really isn't anything you can do to get around that. So yeah, I would say do it now. I have mine done. I recently got my navel done. It's made me feel a lot more confident, like without my shirt off and stuff. So
I was going to say it's a confidence thing. And you know what? If you want to get your nipples pierced and you want to show them off, but you're embarrassed because of your belly, get your nipples pierced so it motivates you to lose more weight. It's a motivator.
Yeah, that helps too.
It would be a motivator, yeah.
And now the only thing I would say about getting your nipples pierced and if you're on a weight loss journey is if you're working out and you're lifting weights and that bar keeps, it doesn't hit your chest. I don't really work out, but yeah, if it hit your chest, that would be an issue. But that otherwise, would hurt,
yeah, but
you know, but once you're healed, not a big deal.
Yeah, when, at least if you're benching right, it shouldn't be really at your nipple. The only thing that has happened to me is sometimes when I've lain back and I have a tank top, my nipple will accidentally come out a little bit and get hooked on the tank top. And then, yeah, that's a bad time. So be careful with that. But yeah, do it.
Go for it. We approve.
Yes. A question from Tina C. Lower navel piercing. Is this anatomy dependent?
Yes.
I already have a floating navel, but yeah, that was a quick answer.
Yeah, it's definitely a very anatomy dependent. Hey, can you pull up lower navel piercings on the computer so we can kind of see some different examples? Now, I would say more than half the people out there don't have the anatomy for a lower navel piercing. A lot of times you have that ridge on the top and the bottom is very, very flat. Like
that person with the blue gem right in the middle, that is not good anatomy for a lower navel piercing.
That
is going to that is going to reject if it hasn't already. The person, that one has good anatomy.
We're looking at mostly good ones. You see the Amato piercing right there? Yeah, I would say that if that's a surface bar, that'd be the only way, but that's a really terrible anatomy right there.
Yeah, that would be bad anatomy for it.
Yeah.
But
I believe that is a surface piercing.
I don't think it is. It looks like a navel ring.
So, but yeah, it's very anatomy dependent because you want to have a ridge. There you go. The one where the shaved hairs. The nicest way to say it. Yeah. Like the top is perfect for piercing. Why didn't you pierce the top? The bottom barely has a ridge.
Yeah.
Now there's a possibility these could heal. And I'm willing to bet, here, like go a little lower, that one right there. Yes. They got lucky.
Brutal.
That looks healed.
That's crazy.
Some people can pierce random spots. My friend Crazy Shane used to talk about his shrapnel chest piercings, and he had like 6 or 7 random CBRs in his chest. And they were healed. He had them for like 20 years. I have no idea. He always called it piercing shrapnel. Shrapnel. There was no randomness. It was just he pierced himself and they worked. Some people can do that. Most of us, that stuff just rejects out and then you have a huge scar.
Yep. So, it's a tough time for sure. Pirelli was asking, you were speaking of a VCH piercing and it being a quick pinch. Is the frenum piercing for guys kind of like the equivalent?
I would say yes. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, because it
depends on the piercer. Now, when I do frenum piercings on penises, like the skin pinches up super, super thin. Okay, so like I'm able to do that, but there's gonna be piercers out there who will put the clamp on there and they just bunch up all that tissue.
Oh,
so
no!
If it was all bunched up and you're going through that thicker tissue, it's gonna suck. That's not very comfortable at all. But if you get someone who can I hate saying the word massage, but
finesse.
You can finesse the tissue to loosen it up to only pierce the skin, and then it's a quick, sharp pinch, and it's not a big deal. So, yeah. And then the other thing too is I generally do frenum piercings at a minimum of a 10 gauge. But the needles we use are so sharp it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And anything thinner than that can have a ripping, tearing effect. So don't think that I'll just do it at a 14 gauge because it'll hurt less. Like, it's going to be about the same either way. It's just you want it to be healed at a larger size. Like if you grab a single hair, grab a single hair compared to a handful of hair, the single hair is definitely going to hurt more than that handful will.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that works. I don't know. I grabbed up here for it.
A little too late. From Summiting Sloth. My youngest daughter, who's 9, wants a second lobe piercing. What's your opinion on that? Too young? Question.
No, I wouldn't say too young. Lobes.
I would say first and seconds are all right for that age, but once you start getting into thirds, it starts getting questionable because you almost fall into a cartilage category. Some people it's still lobe, but I always tell people, like anyone, like probably like 14, 15 and under, like second lobes is all I'm going to do. I don't go all the way up there because even if it feels like lobe in your semi-cartilage, sometimes those take a year to heal and they're a pain in the butt to heal. High lobe piercings can be rough. So 2, not a problem. I don't think it's very tacky. I think a lot of people have double piercings. I would say more people probably have doubles than singles.
Yeah.
So it's not out of the norm. So I think it's okay. But you know what? You're the parent and you're the one in charge. So it's your prerogative. And if you don't want them to have the second, you should say no. But if you don't know and you're just looking for a second opinion, I personally don't see anything wrong with it. But that's my opinion. And it's all opinion.
Cool. We've got a question from Olivia. Hello, I finally got to one of your live streams. I've always wondered, what is the facial mod that Scott has under his eyes? I've never seen anything like it, and I love it.
Why, thank you.
We took a hole puncher and just, you know?
It's kind of a combination. It's generally not recommended. They are brandings. So these are 6 dots burned underneath my eyes. I've had them done 2 times. I do not scar at all. I really, really tried. And I think a lot of people look at it, this is a blessing, is not being able to be scarred. But I tried doing this, and for as round as those things are, that's how deep they used to be. I used to be able to take like a 4mm bead and just drop it in there, and it wouldn't move because that's how deep those holes were.
Wow.
But it just went back up flush. So I talked to my friend Tom Strom, who's a tattoo artist, and I was like, hey man, can we do some like white outlines just on the edge to make these things pop a little bit more? And he's like, yeah, we can do that. And that sucked. That sucked quite a bit. But we got the white outlines, and then after maybe a couple years, I went in to have them retouched back up because the white just doesn't last. And he's like, I got an idea. Let's throw a little tiny bit of a red shadow in the inside of the branding on the top to give it some depth. And I'm like, I don't want you to be experimenting on my face. He's like, no, you're not even going to notice. It's just a shadow. So I have red and white and their branding. So it's a, yeah. That's
awesome.
What's going on. Now down my nose, I didn't want to brand it because that skin is so tight, and I'd imagine everything would just kind of spread and you'd lose control, and it could be really, really bad. And it scared the hell out of me, to be honest with you. So I was like, let's just tattoo white dots. So we did the white dots down my nose, and then they looked flat. So then Tom again was like, hey, let's throw a red shadow on the bottom of it to make them look like they pop out more. And
like
I was
3D.
like, really? And he's like, trust me. And it's like, okay. I trust my tattoo artist, obviously.
Yeah.
And, so that's what's going on. Pretty rare. I've never met anyone else who has the exact same thing. But if you have brandings on your body and they don't stand out, a white outline around the edge, super, super cool. I think
Definitely
Steve
helps.
Hayworth did that too. He had some scrapes down his face. And when I talked to him, he's like, hey, that's really cool. And he's like, do you mind? So I think he tattooed white around his too.
Cool.
That's rad.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
We've got a question from Monica. Is it possible that my 30-year-old navel piercing is being rejected?
Yes.
No inflammation or nothing is going on with the piercing, but the titanium barbell is becoming more and more visible. Could it be because of menopause?
That's a good question. I don't know if not sure if it would be because of menopause, but I mean, like our bodies do go through changes.
Menopause.
All over the place. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter the age of the piercing. Eventually it can reject out. The tissue could just be becoming softer and thinner. So I know like as we get older, our tissue does get thinner, and that's why you can see like, you know, like veins more, you know, like way better. But yeah, I mean, it really just kind of depends, I think. But it very well could be, you know, length of the jewelry could be playing a factor in that.
Now the thing is you can have a piercing, which is totally good. Like I've had eyebrow piercings for like 6-7 years. And then all of a sudden I went to a concert and one got bumped.
Yeah.
And it was enough of an irritation to start the rejection process. Nape piercings do the same thing. Like someone hugs me and like they grab a hold of the back of my neck piercing and pull on it. That's enough to cause it to reject. So even though it's healed and established and established, an irritation can start that migration thing. So it is possible. Don't let it grow all the way out. If it does seem like it's getting much thinner and the bar's getting longer, your best bet is just to take it out. You might be able to use some sort of Mederma scar tissue remover and maybe massage it and break it down, and you might be able to get it re-pierced again. But chances are it's probably done. It's probably an established hole and it's just getting thin. So it might be done.
Yep. It stinks, but
yeah,
unfortunate.
I hate giving bad news.
Yeah.
Me too.
A question from Ronald. Do you guys do pearls or purling since this is a body modification? No, it is not legal to do.
Yeah, we do not.
I have done them in the past. Okay. I've done them when I was in Minnesota and there really wasn't any laws or regulations at the time. But basically what I did was not with the scalpel, not with any sort of needle, but I used piercing needles. So pierce, stretch all the way up and let it close down upon it. I didn't have any problems with them when I did them. They seemed to heal up really quick. But again, find someone who's experienced because you need to know the right depth. You need to know the right placement. You have to have the right materials. And then you're trapping wounds on the inside. So it's questionable, but it's a really cool thing. It is. And for those of you who don't know, purling or beading is like for the penis, like on the top side, the skin, you just kind of lift it up and you put a bead or something underneath there. And then you're going to have like little speed bumps, basically. That's the easiest way to say it.
Yeah, I believe the origin, at least from what I've read, is from the
prison. Just kidding.
Actually, yes, it's from the Yakuza. When they would go into prison, they would put pearls into their genitals to be able to have some form of currency that they could use while they were in there.
No. I think
No?
that's wrong. Now, I read this in the research book that we were talking about earlier. They used to use pearls because pearls are fibrous and the tissue will fully attach and there's no removing it. So if you wanted that removed, I've been told you need to go on scalpel and basically carve it out of there.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, nowadays we're using Teflon beads or titanium beads, but I believe the Yakuza added a pearl for every year they were in prison.
Interesting.
That's what
I researched that.
I remember right.
I just looked it up and you're right. They used to implant glass pearls for every year they served in prison.
Glass pearls?
Well, it was probably pearls.
Original
but,
and then kind of moved. And I also know in Russia, they do marbles. So like they always talk about, I want to get some marbles. And I remember when I was in Minnesota, a lot of my Russian clients were like, I need to add a marble. And at first I was like, what are you talking about? You know, on marble under the skin. And I think that's what they used to, I think they used to take, this is not educational. This is history. This is okay.
Right.
They used to take dominoes, and I think they used to carve it down into like a bead, and they called that a marble, and that's what they would put under the skin, like they would the pearl. So, I love the history.
Interesting. Yeah, me too.
Crazy. Imagine trying to like go and play dominoes with your buddies, and they're like missing like 20 of them.
We need another
so
set
much
of dominoes.
for this game.
Yeah.
So everybody's weenies.
Guys, like, hold on. Yeah.
Hold on, let me get this one out.
Think about that, though. I mean, it's like if you don't know what's going on as a prison guard, and it's like people are bringing games in. How innocent is, is a set of dominoes? It's totally innocent. Yeah,
it's true.
Oh, and by the way, the whole Yakuza thing, they used to use sharpened chopsticks, and they would cut it and insert.
Nice.
Ouch, ouch, ouch.
Love Asian.
Yeah, no thanks.
From Alyssa, Kelsey pierced my son's ear, and he still talks about her and is so happy she did it for him.
Oh,
that's so cool. Hi.
From Sam,
It just goes to prove it. I mean, it's like you
go.
really can make a huge impression on people for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So be the good piercer.
I do love
please.
my job, and I love my job because I'm such a people pleaser, but this is like a healthy way of being a people pleaser. Thoroughly enjoy making people happy, and I think it's because like piercing for as long as I can remember always made me so happy.
Good.
So happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of my favorite things to do is, I mean, when someone is in for their appointment, you know, I ask them how long they've wanted this pierced for, and they're like, oh, I wanted this for so long. And I'm like, well, I am so honored that I get to be the one to do it today. So I'm super stoked. Whether it's in, like Scott was saying, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's an earlobe or whatever, it doesn't matter if it's my 10th nostril of the day, I am stoked to do it. So yeah.
Yep.
Be the good piercer.
Yeah.
Agreed. From Sam, I've read that dido piercings are usually done on circumcised men as foreskins can inhibit healing. Do you have any input on whether or not an uncircumcised guy can still consider this piercing?
I probably wouldn't do it. Whenever I've done genital piercings like PAs or something like that on someone who's circumcised, we'll have to use a curved barbell, but I've also seen it where that uncircumcised skin comes over the top and the bead almost wears a hole through the skin, you know, like I've also seen like tongue piercings where people have a real strong web and they do the piercing right next to the web and that bead eventually just erodes and you get a hole through your frenum as well. So it's probably not the best idea. It could work.
Depends on, you know, the stretch of the tissue as well. So if you have enough of a gap there to where jewelry would sit nice and comfortably, as long as as long as the foreskin isn't too tight and would be pushing down on that area, I think you would be okay. But I would seek a reputable piercer just to double check your anatomy and everything, see how everything would sit in there if you'd be a good fit for it.
Now, for those of you who don't know what a dido is, ouch, is all I got to say.
They are my favorite male genital piercing. I think that, in like the cute way, you know, they're like the cutest male genital piercing. If you get two of them, it looks like a frog.
They have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
So a penis, the head of head of the ridge. I'm not going to draw it on paper. I'm not drawing porn.
So this is the head of the penis facing you,
okay,
right?
And then you have that little ridge.
There's the rim.
And it's going through the corona or the little top curve with a curved barbell. And a lot of times you do like...
Curved barbell. You do two of them, so it looks like this. Little frog eyes. Whoop. Can we show a dido piercing on here? No? Oh, okay.
It's instructional, but generally I try to find drawings and kind of Photoshop stuff, but we don't.
Dido piercings are really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are cool for sure.
Yeah.
I have a video on it. Go check out The Whole Truth if you're curious about them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. Bruh, you for real asks or says.
Yeah, I'm for real.
Every piercing is valid is so real, except for snake eyes. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much. Bonus points for you.
Yeah.
Gold star for the day.
Gold star. 10% off your next piercing.
I don't know about that.
Excluding gold.
Yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, a snake eyes piercing is a horizontal tongue piercing. So it goes through.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. Tongue, tooth, and gum damage.
Not only is it a bad idea for your gums and your teeth and stuff like that, but if you've ever spoken to somebody who has a snake eye piercing, all you can hear is clickety clack in between everything they say, and it's just you want to rip their tongue out after about 10 minutes of having a conversation.
Well, the real one of the big issues that I've found with it is our tongues are two separate muscles. Kelsey can very easily display that for us. Yes, so if you have a horizontal tongue piercing, you're forcing those two muscles together. It'd be like,
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, it'd be like piercing your biceps together.
Imagining the healing process of that. So like when your tongue is resting, you know, it's normal, and then saying the what is it? Vowel A. When you say A, if you notice the two tips of my tongue go like this, A.
Yep.
So when you say A, imagining the tongue flattening out during the healing process of that, and the tongue being forced to not be able to do that. Ooh, don't do it.
Then on top of that, like
bad
teeth are pretty neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly.
You know, you can get gum erosion where your teeth just start falling out.
Yep.
All for the vanity of a piercing.
No.
It's a bad idea.
Bad.
All that clicking and clacking Kelsey is talking about is actually just the beads smacking up the back of your teeth. So
Gums,
eventually,
and the gums that are holding your bottom teeth into place, like eventually start to erode. I've seen such bad gum erosion. Personally, have seen such bad gum erosion. That's like to the point I can see the root of the back of their bottom teeth. Terrible. Oh my gosh.
But
like if I pull it hard enough, it would probably fall out.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. Doesn't bother me. And I'm like, oh, okay. Good luck.
Yeah, it's a bad time.
Good luck losing those in 5 years.
From GMO Moon, I put a nose ring in and I cannot get it off. I've tried for so long now that, I've tried for so long that now I feel that I may have stretched the hole. Will a piercer be able to remove it? I feel like I am stuck with this.
Yes,
Nope,
I would
you're
see a
not
piercer.
stuck with it.
No, I would see a piercer. They'll probably be able to get it out. And there are ways that we can remove them out, whether it be removing it or cutting it out.
Yeah,
It will
Cutting the top off.
Okay, so like you say, nose ring. Is it a hoop or is it a stud? You know, sometimes the studs are the push pin, the threadless jewelry, and it's like it's tough to be able to separate it. We have tools to hold onto the jewelry on the inside and outside to separate it if need be. Now, there's also rings. Now, if you're wearing a ring with no bead, is it one of those rings where you twist to the side, or is it a clicker where it has the little hinge? You need to know which one of those two it is, because if you're doing the wrong type of method to remove it, it won't come out. So that's kind of the factor. Now, the other thing is some people will take the bead off a captive bead ring, where you have the ring and then the bead goes here and then they put it in and they try to pinch it closed when it's not supposed to be. If that gap goes to the inside of your nose, the skin closes up on the middle and it looks like it's still open, but you lost your piercing. Mm-hmm. Then we have to take like an opening pliers and completely open it to get it out. The inside's completely closed, but you have two dimples on both sides. So it's kind of one of those situations. Either way about it, a piercer will be able to help you out. It's not a forever thing.
With that being said, I do know of a guy who is a piercer who had, I think it was like a 4-gauge tunnel stuck in his septum for like 11 years.
Oh, I could not imagine the smell.
Well, he was just like, whatever. I personally wouldn't be able to do that. I guess he did eventually get it out, but yeah. So
in a situation where you have like a flesh tunnel or something that's getting stuck in your ear or your septum or your nose or whatever it might be, you need to start stacking jewelry. So what you do is you put smaller rings underneath, and that's going to stretch that tissue out enough. And once you get 2 or 3 rings in there, sometimes within a week or so, it'll be loose enough where you can take those old rings out and the flesh tunnel will come right through. Mm-hmm. So I had a friend who had a 00 double flare titanium plug in his septum. And it got stuck. And I remember going in there with like closing pliers and trying to crimp it and shake it and like tools inside someone's nose. Oh my God, that was one of the scariest things I ever did.
One slip.
Yep, and that's why
lose a
nostril.
nostril.
What, dude? I said, just put a ring in, let's see if we can stretch it and pull that flare back through. Because you got it in there, and after like 2 days, it came right out. So.
Yep. So I hope we didn't scare you. Yeah, we'll definitely be able to come out pretty easily. I wouldn't fret about it.
Yeah. If you can't get it, hit us up next week or whatever, and we'll work with some more with you. Yeah,
absolutely.
It'll come out.
From Lucky. Hey, I wrote in a few streams ago about getting a Filtrum with Invisalign. Ended up going with a vertical Filtrum so I can do the Invisalign right away, and it's healing great.
Yes.
Nice. Congratulations.
Love that. I think that's a great move.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes when you're wearing those Invisaligns, like any sort of retainers, like those piercings are going to rub right up against it. It could work, but I foresee more problems than not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're down to about 15 minutes, so I'm going to try and get through these next ones pretty quick.
Went by fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
We started about 10 minutes late.
Yeah,
we had a major camera problems this last couple of weeks, and I think we got everything fixed up. We had computer problems. That was in the shop for a while. I've been struggling with technology here, people. But I keep fixing it, keep coming forward.
Oh, yeah.
And I think once we reset things, I'm not sure, but what do you guys think? Do you think these pictures are better? Because I feel like I got better settings on the camera. So smooth. You can see every little thing.
Whoa.
Awesome.
My microphone was right there.
Okay. Speed round.
There we go. Speed round. From Justine Perez. I've had a faux rook piercing for about a month now. I've been cleaning it with wound wash spray once to twice a day. It rotates when I clean it. Is that causing harm to the healing process?
As long as you're not pulling crusties through, and if the bar is too long at this point, it might be time to downsize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That was a good quick one.
That's what we're trying to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blood tastes tender raw asks.
Oh, wait, what?
Blood tastes tender raw asks.
The best way to eat a steak.
Those are just like 4 meat-related words.
Yeah.
When can I stretch a fresh lobe piercing?
You said it yourself. It's fresh when it's healed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
If you've seen my video where I do the large gauge lobe piercing, I stretch right away, but there is no established tube of scar tissue. So that's why we can pierce and stretch, but you couldn't do that a day after because that tube of scar tissue. The tube of scar tissue is already established. So you need that established to be strong enough so you don't rip and tear it. So generally, I would say probably at least 8 weeks would be the absolute earliest, probably closer to like 12. Give it about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. From Sammy, I have snake bites, and I know some like to wear matching labret studs or matching rings, but I like to wear a labret stud on one side and a ring on the other. Is that weird?
That's not weird.
You're
I like
a
it.
symmetrical person? Yeah, it's really weird. It's personal preference. I think it's cool. It's still balanced.
Yeah.
That's what is the most important thing to me. So
one of my favorite nostril setups, I had a ring on one side, and then the other side had a stud that had a chain going from my earlobe to the end, and it was really cool. So one of my favorite setups. I'm actually thinking about going back to
bring it back.
Rings.
Bring it.
Not quite exactly back, but something like that.
Bring it back.
Yeah. From Sushi. Hey guys,
Love
I just
sushi.
want to say thank you for all of the content you provide. Had no piercings when I started watching. Now I have 3.
Nice.
Congratulations. That's
We're
super
such bad influences. I love this.
Good.
We're good influences.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
As long as you're getting it done right and we're educating the right way.
Yes.
So
Indeed.
thanks for watching. Love having you here.
Ryan St. John says, hi, Scott.
Hi.
And Rhiannon McPherson asks if we're going to be at the APP conference this year.
Yes.
And yes, we are.
Yes.
We are already ready, registered to go. We got our classes and stuff. I'm so stoked.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Nova's going this year. And he went last year to like hang out with us, but I wanted him to be in classes with me so bad.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm so stoked.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
So, and yeah, for those of you who live in Las Vegas here, our shop will be closed down that whole week because we focus purely on education that week. So it's for the better of everyone. You know, I get to see the new jewelry. We get stock up on some new jewelry stuff. We get new information and just staying up to date.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
APP's Association of Professional Piercers. Every year they do a piercing conference here in Vegas for piercers only, and it's all about classes, education, and jewelry and things like that.
Yes.
How many years have they been doing this now? Is it 20?
This is now the 20. Wait, what was last year's 26th? Last year's was the 26th, I think.
It's been going a while.
I think
so
this
it's
year's
pretty
the
impressive.
27th.
Pretty impressive.
Long
Right?
time.
Huh?
A long time. Let's see. It's the 27th annual
27th.
conference.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, because last year was the 26th. I've been going since 2013,
Wow.
2014. Yeah,
That's
that
wild.
was my first one. Was 2013.
My first was 2017, I think. So
Oh,
That's
I
where I met
think mine was
Kelsey.
2014. I missed the first one because I had just started my apprenticeship and I couldn't afford to go. I can't remember. I'll have to look at all my badges.
I'm pretty sure mine was the late 90s.
Heck yeah.
Love it.
I'm old.
Question from Chip. How long do you recommend any kind of nipple play after getting them pierced? How long should a person wait before any bodily fluid contact with the piercing?
So bodily fluid contact, I would wait at least the first like 3 to 6 months. Let it become an established, healed-ish wound. You know, I don't really know how to explain it, but at least not in the first like 3 to 6 months.
And here's the deal. Like when you have a healed earlobe piercing, you can pull on it and it doesn't hurt. Now with a fresh nipple piercing, it's sensitive and you pull on it and it's like, ooh, it hurts a little bit. It's not healed. So if it hurts, you're doing damage. It's as simple as that. Now, the worst part about this whole situation, you're saying oral play with it, you could have crusties for 1 year to 2 years. So clean it first.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe only oral player in the shower after the shower because
It's tough.
Wait till it's healed.
yeah.
Yes,
For the
that's the
most
short
part.
answer. From Ursula's Odds and Sods. I'm planning to create a new channel called An Older Pierced Person's Perspective.
Yes.
Do you mind if I mention your channel and videos in my content?
Please.
That would be awesome.
I
we
would
would
be
love
very,
that.
very honored.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, I encourage more of the channels. Like I watch all the other piercing YouTubers out there too, and it's just like, it's great. We should constantly be educating, and you know, we're a community. We're all on the same team. We're not enemies. We're not rivals. We're all on the same team. So yeah, absolutely.
Heck yeah. A question from iShow.
I'd love to be on the channel someday too. That'd be fun.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah, maybe a little collab.
Oh, that would be cool, Ursula. Oh my goodness.
We love you.
I want to go and watch.
Yeah, me too. a veteran, asks, a friend of mine asked for a double helix piercing, and the piercer said it was too risky. I wanted a doth and a forward helix, and they also denied because they were too close together. Is that true?
No, I would maybe seek a different piercer because it doesn't really sound like they were very comfortable doing those piercings.
That's it.
I would say it's someone who just lacks the general knowledge on those piercings, perhaps. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, they're definitely not too close together. So forward helix. Oh, this is not hair. So forward helix right here on this area here, and then the doth is going to be right there. So I mean, technically it is part of the same body part.
Did a really low forward helix,
but no,
then maybe, but no. It won't interfere.
Yeah, you're fine.
You know, and for the piercers out there, like if you don't feel comfortable doing it, say you don't feel comfortable doing it. Don't lie and make things up saying it's too dangerous.
Right.
Well, if it's too dangerous, tell me how it's too dangerous. You know, because if you told me that, I would ask you and I'd call you out why. You know, 'cause I want to know why. So if you don't have an answer for that, like tell them I don't feel comfortable. I'd have to research it. I have to, you know.
It's too dangerous because I might miss.
Right. It's too dangerous because I don't know how to do it.
We're being honest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a follow-up from GMO Moon that I missed. They said that they should specify that their nostril ring is a ring or a hoop, and it will not unlock. It looks like a double nostril piercing, so sort of a moon shape. The clamp is inside my nose. Can a piercer get it out? Sounds like a clicker to me.
I would see a piercer.
Yeah,
I would just see a piercer, and as soon as possible, because if the opening is on the inside of your, or like through the piercing itself, it could be, you know, fusing to it in some way. I don't know.
Is that like one of our clickers where they have the two rings and it looks like one, so it looks like a double piercing, but it's a single?
Possibly. I don't know.
Because if it's one of those, it's a clicker. Yeah, just go see a piercer because like the hinge and trying to get a hold of the right spot. They have hemostats. We can fix it.
Cool. All right, I'm going to try and get us a little quicker through these. We got quite a few questions left and only about 5 minutes. So
okay,
we'll step it up a little bit. From Twist Turns and Tarot, was wondering when it should be safe to change my septum jewelry. Have had it for 7 weeks and a day, if that helps.
I usually tell people 6 to 8 weeks, so 7 weeks would be a pretty good.
As long as the crusties are pretty much done.
Yeah.
Yep. Once it's healed is the short answer.
Yep.
Catherine, who was doing the industrial, followed up and said that her piercer said when you have piercing bumps, use tea tree oil with aspirin. Never use them. Use saline. Sleeping on my piercing pillow. I would maybe suggest finding a different piercer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If they're giving you that advice, then
mixing tea tree oil with
and aspirin, that's kind of funky. So I know what they're saying. So tea tree oil, I say it every time, is potent enough to strip the paint off of a car. Yep. So if it's not diluted properly, you are not doing anything but damage to the tissue, causing more irritation and inflammation. And aspirin, I never understood the whole aspirin paste thing, you know, and if you're not creating a paste out of it, so let's say you're taking tea tree oil and aspirin, you're making a paste out of that would be like a double whammy. No, ma'am.
Brutal.
Yeah. So do not do that.
They're combining two bad ideas into one terrible
Those are two
idea.
very old school ways of taking care of something, which now in this day and age, we don't do because it caused nothing but problems.
Yep.
So stay away from that. Find another piercer. Perhaps.
Absolutely.
Essential oils are not meant to go inside your body.
No.
Agreed.
Period.
The doctors won't
not for
ever
puncture
like,
wounds.
it's antibacterial. I should put it inside there.
Nope.
No, don't.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to keep us going.
Yep.
From B, my piercer and I plan to pierce my dimples, but she wants me to wait so that my body can focus on the cheeks. I have quite a lot of piercing, so it's not a new game for me. My second tragus is a month and a half old. Doth is 2 weeks. How long should I wait? Is 2 months good?
I like your piercer.
Yes.
Your piercer's very wise. You don't want to heal too much at once, and cheeks are a pain
brutal.
in the butt.
Cheeks are very problematic.
So you need that immune system strong. So maybe zinc
take your
supplements.
vitamins.
Yeah,
take your vitamins. Zinc supplements are good. Staying hydrated, keeping up on everything.
But what was the piercing they're healing?
Tragus. Second tragus, doth. They're a couple. The doth is like 2 weeks, so I think the short answer is probably
3-4 months minimum.
Yeah, until they're mostly healed.
Yeah.
Cool. From Not Yet. I love your question. Hello from Toronto. My inner ears are always oily, and I want to get a rook and conch piercing. Will my oily ears be an issue in cleaning and healing?
I mean, as long as you're keeping the piercings clean, leaving them alone, and doing what you can to minimize the oil, then I feel like you should be fine.
Yep, maybe just Focus a little extra on aftercare.
I would like to say that I think noses are probably the more oilier part of our body, and people heal nostrils all the time. And I've never had an issue with that. So you should be totally fine as long as you're cleaning it properly.
Yeah.
Love it. From Patch Smith, aloha. Wanted to say, love watching the videos. I'm drinking my morning Kona coffee. By the way,
Kona coffee. That's where my brothers live. I go to Kona every year.
Love it. They said that they'd love to send some. Where can I send it? To the shop. Aloha,
to my house.
Jason.
To the shop's the best place. Yeah. So Piercing Vegas. Do we have a link down for an address in the bottom?
2121 East Tropicana.
Yeah.
Yep.
Super easy.
Yeah,
Sweet 6. Yep.
Love it. Yeah.
89.
And if you can, I would love
Las
if
Vegas.
it's possible to
Nevada.
get some decaf in there. Because like I said, I've been caffeine sensitive for I don't even know how long now, but since I stopped drinking, I've been feeling so much better mentally.
Good.
So
How'd you know I like coffee?
I love coffee. Yeah.
A question from Benjamin.
Bruce, I'm on the show.
Hi, Scott. My piercer recently suggested a double doth piercing, but I historically take a long time to heal. Conch took 3 years. Would you recommend getting one doth at a time or both at the same time?
One at a time.
One at a time. If
One at a
if
time.
you take that long to heal, then yeah.
And your piercer suggested it. Hopefully you have the anatomy for a double doth. Are you talking 2 on 1 ear? That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah,
That would be super cool.
Yeah,
That
so you
is,
do a ring
that's
inside
what
of a
it is.
ring. So do one piercing, let it fully heal up. I would say probably 6 months to a year. Wait till the swelling's completely down so you can match the angle, because the swelling will get intense for a long, long time. And you don't want the swelling on top of the other swelling. Like when people get forward helixes, those forward helixes, if you get 3 of them, it makes it intensely rough because it's swelling on swelling on swelling. So one at a time is definitely the way to go. And it looks so rad.
awesome. A follow-up question from Alyssa. Why is a snug so painful to heal when it doesn't hurt? Or, I'm sorry, and when does it not hurt?
Oh, I was like, it doesn't hurt.
Um,
It's the most dense of all cartilage in your ear. Like you can pinch your conch and it's like, yeah, it's kind of thick, but it moves. Then you grab your snug and it's like, that's like a rock. It's solid.
So this is a snug right here.
Yep.
This area right here. All that cartilage. Oof.
Thick.
And so when you're going to lay your pillow or your head down on your pillow, what part of your ear, if you don't have ears like me, touches the pillow first? The snug area.
The first part.
So
then on top of it, with the cartilage that dense, it's not vascular, so you're not getting the white blood cells you need to heal the piercing. Therefore, it takes a long, long time to heal.
long time.
Yep.
They're a pain in the butt. I
So
am not a
pretty.
fan.
I wish they were easier because I love snug piercings.
I don't.
You know what? Back in the day, they used to call them Babcock piercings, B-A-B-C-O-C-K, because there was a certain clamp called a Babcock clamp.
Oh,
They
yeah,
thought
you
that you
told me
had
about
to
that.
use those specifically for that piercing. That's when we only clamped every single thing. So,
That's
Wow.
funny.
yeah.
The
Good old days. All
old
right, we've
days,
got a
gotta
couple
love it.
more questions. I think we can make it.
Okay.
From Pirelli, going off of Sam's question, what are your thoughts on Kuno/foreskin piercings, but not on the side, vertically through the top, as if it's the equivalent of a VCH?
Yeah, I think they're great.
Okay.
Foreskins are super, super easy to heal.
They look cool.
Yeah. I'm totally down for them. I think they're super cool.
Do it.
Love
Yeah.
it. MZ9712 says, love your videos. Awesome to catch you live.
Glad you're here. Thanks.
We've got a good question from Avery. Why aren't septum piercings healed with a straight bar? I know you wouldn't be able to see the jewelry, but wouldn't it heal better?
Not necessarily.
Some people will pierce with a staple or a septum retainer. Nova, can you pull one of those up for me?
Sure.
And this is more or less a straight bar, and you kind of flip it up so it looks invisible the whole time. Now the thing is like if you did a barbell, you're probably not gonna. Okay, those are all round ones. You looking for a
Top right. Yeah,
there we go. That's a septum retainer, and you can pierce with those, flip them up. There's a possibility it could always fall out, but generally they stay pretty good. And with something like this, there is less movement. My opinion, I think they probably heal better as long as it doesn't fall out and it's fit right. So.
I usually suggest to just keep them flipped up for the entire healing process and then switching jewelry. But yeah, the idea of having something straight in there is pretty, I mean, because it is such a paper thin area of tissue, I don't think it really matters what style jewelry you
Can
have.
you go back to those pictures again, Nova?
Mm-hmm.
Now you see those round ones like grade 23 titanium, like go lower.
That one.
That one. A lot of people like these because like when you see how it's hanging out of the nose, there is no way you're tucking that up your nose.
Oh.
So that is not a retainer. That's almost a piece of jewelry. You know, it's like they're meant to tuck up and hide, and that's kind of defeats the purpose.
Wow, it's so crazy to think I used to wear stuff like that.
The good old days.
The good old days.
Man, I used to wear big bone tusks and stuff myself.
Yeah.
I miss those. I should bring it back. No, because then it pushes up on my nostrils, my nose.
I was actually going to say that also might
Nostril
be why
screws.
it's not good to do, if like putting a straight barbell, I could see if you had beads on one end, like it might actually distort the tissue a little bit. Like,
and once you add the
nostril.
beads, it's going to impede your breathing too.
Yep.
I noticed the more stuff you put in your
Yeah.
nose, the tougher it is to breathe through your nose.
Absolutely.
So,
cool. Jax asked, I'm hooked on piercing videos. I see some where they pierce from behind. Is there a reason for this? Just technique.
Personal technique.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whatever the piercer's comfortable with. I always go what's going to be the most accurate and painless piercing possible is what I go by. So,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
like for oral piercings, I pierce outside in because I feel like the exit hole is the most painful part and the tissue on the inside is softer. Therefore, it should be less painful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
But
I
yeah,
pierce from the inside out because I feel like it's quicker and I can hit my mark
Yep.
a lot more
She's wrong.
accurately.
Just listen to me. Personal preference. People.
Yeah.
It's all personal preference.
Yeah, it's all personal preference. Let's see. From Greg. Hi, folks. I have a soft lump on the inside of my belly button that's gotten larger as I've put on weight. I think it might be a hernia. Will this stop me from being able to get a navel piercing?
Yes, if it's in the navel cavity, absolutely. I would probably see a doctor if I were you to get that fixed because that can be dangerous.
I have one I need to get fixed too, and I've thought about doing my navel, and it's bad. Now, a hernia is basically like your inner organs, basically your lower intestines, kind of pop through that wall. So it's like your inner organs have that non-protective thing. So you're piercing your lower or your intestines, basically.
Oof, don't do it.
So that's why
Please,
it's
God, don't do it.
extremely dangerous. You're going to go into septic shock. It's going to be a hospital trip. I don't know if it could be death, but it's a possibility. So
For sure. And
Yeah.
I think anything that you can go into septic shock from left untreated
yeah,
can kill you.
extremely dangerous. Get it fixed. Get it looked into.
Please.
Agreed. But then get your navel pierced because navels
Because
on dudes rule.
navels are cool, especially on dudes.
From Carson, how much does the rook piercing hurt?
I wonder because I've never had one done and I really want one done, but I'm kind of chicken to do it. Plus
Are you chicken to do it?
I'm a little chicken to do it. A little bit.
You pierced your own nipple.
I know. But the rook is like, bleh. I don't know, something about it. But I will say, I can't tell you how many rooks I have pierced, and I have never, not once in the last 10, 11 years I've been doing this, have had anyone tell me that it was the worst piercing that they've ever had.
I've heard it's similar to a doth. It's just like pressure more than pain.
More pressure than it is pain.
You've had your rook done, right, Scott?
No, I haven't. It's one of the few I haven't. But I will say that a good piercer makes it less painful for sure.
Yeah.
Because a low quality needle, like trying to get through the cartilage, I go from the bottom up because like when you have a bevel the needle and you pierce top down and then you have to kind of almost rechange the angle. Sometimes that bevel grabs a hold and kind of rips and tears and pulls that tissue off, which I think is what causes the amount of pain. So if you find a piercer who can do it fast and smooth, it's really not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. All right, last question from Black Jade. My next piercing is going to be a doth piercing. Any suggestions?
Do it.
Do it.
One, do it. Two, get some cool jewelry so we can see.
Yeah.
Agreed.
There's so many fun things with doth piercings, but just make sure that you're not getting a clicker, get a cap to bead ring, circular barbell. Once you're healed up, you have so many options. It's probably one of my favorite cartilage piercings, I think.
Mine too.
Next to
fun.
the conch, doth and conch, so rad.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
what a perfect spot to end the show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe, and of course, keep putting holes in your body. See you all in the next video.
Love it. Thanks.
Bye, guys. Fade to black.